Hey everybody, how's it going? So, Path of Exile 2. We got some big news, so I thought we'd cover it on the stream. We got a big patch coming. A big one. So, first thing they're doing is they're adding the fast travel checkpoints within areas to get around the bigger maps faster. Hopefully, this is it being implemented into maps as well, because backtracking on maps is awful. Even with 30% movement speed boots, it doesn't feel great, but they're adding it. Chances are, if it's not in maps now, I bet you it comes later. Passive point respecking is getting cheaper. I guess the curve was like this. There we go. I think we got that in there. And they're leveling it out so it won't be as aggressive. They're saying it's about 40 to 50% less gold to respec from the start of middle of endgame progression. So hooray if you ever need to respec. They're going to be changing the trial, fixing some things in the trial of Sekhemas. So the honor damage now will scale based on the distance to an enemy. So if you're in close range or playing a melee character, looks like we'll be taking 35% less honor damage and then tapering off to full damage the further away you are. This is great. They fixed a bug where damage over the time was dealing 3 times as much honor damage as intended. That was rough. Definitely, I noticed I was taking a lot of honor damage sometimes. Whoa, that did so much honor damage. I was at 1,000. What the hell? And that pretty much explains it. And I think that's probably why I failed my third ascendancy a few times, is because of hitting a trap or some kind of burn damage. So the fact that they are fixed this bug is awesome. Skittering golems no longer use basic attacks, instead just explode. That's cool. I can't remember which mob that is, because generally I'm mostly blowing stuff up pretty quickly. Serpent Clan's burrow ambush attack is now better telegraphed, so it's easier to see. And then Rattle Cage's fissure slams now last half as long, so you won't have all these fissures shooting out fireballs all over the place. So we got the endgame changes coming. Maps no longer have additional elemental resistant penalties. So at tier 6 and tier 11, you would lose more elemental resistance. They got rid of that. That's great. It's a little bit easier to solve the defense game now. Chaos damage now scales less aggressively over the end game, so makes it so chaos damage is not going to just outright destroy you. You're still going to want that chaos damage resistance, but you won't be as punished as hard for not having full chaos resist as you go deeper into the end game. The critical strikes from monsters now deal 40% less bonus damage, so that is huge. That's a big chunk of damage we're not going to be taking from those crit strikes from the enemies. They lowered the baseline monster density of breach encounters, primarily by reducing the frequency of elite monsters appearing. So I think this just so at the start of the breach encounter, you're not just getting wiped out right away. We'll see how that plays out. They disabled the volatile crystal modifier. So there are little purple orbs that would spawn on the ground and explode. I guess they don't telegraph very well. I know I've seen a bunch of videos of people getting just wiped out by that. So makes sense. The purple explosives created by the volatile plants deal less damage. That's nice. I was pretty easy to dodge them, but I haven't been in too many situations where it was really crazy, where that would totally mess you up. Siphon flash charge modifiers on monsters now drain 10 times less flash charges, so they're not going to completely drain your vials on you as fast now, so that's probably fine. So hopefully this will make for a funner endgame. Character and item balances. Charm modifiers on belts substantially more common, so that means you'll be able to get your second and third charm slots a lot easier since they're modifiers on the belts. Would be nice if they're implicit instead, but it is what it is. I think this is still good either way. I think it's like close to like 80 hours of playtime. I haven't seen any 2 or 3 slot belts for charms, so Electrocute is now 25% harder to build up, but the damage penalty has been removed from the support gem. So I think they're just trying to balance out Electrocute. Added a new lightning damage and Electrocute cluster in the passive tree in between Rangers and Monk. So a little more lightning damage and Electrocute support. It is now more difficult to chain freeze enemies by reducing the amount of freeze buildup applied after a freeze has been applied. So you're not going to be able to chain freeze enemies as easily. So I get that from some of the videos I've seen. Freeze just can keep people permanently frozen. So that's pretty wild. So probably for the best that they made this balance change. The Hunter's Talisman, notable, now grants +1 charm slot. This small passive skill leading up to it now grants the stats it formerly gave. The charm helper text has been updated to indicate that you can not have more than 3 charms either way. So if you have a belt with 2 sockets, you can use this notable to get that +1 charm slot. Then skill and support gem balances. They said there's going to be quite a bunch of information in the actual patch notes. It sounds like they're going to be buffing some of the underperformers. Some of the examples they gave us is improvements to rolling, slam, and all shield skills, various bow skills, especially skills used to generate frenzy charges, bone spells and chaos damage spells for the occult section are going to be getting some kind of improvement. Crossbow skills, and especially the higher tier ones, are going to get some new improvements as well, and some of the weaker quarterstaff abilities. But they are also giving us 2 new support gems. One is Tremors, which will give you multiple aftershocks to skills with a damage penalty. So that'll be an interesting support gem to see how it functions. Then the Bidding support gem, which is going to be used to give your command skills of supported minions some more damage. And then they're also going to be modifying fire exposure, lightning exposure, and cold exposure support gems to no longer penalize damage, but instead give a mana cost multiplier to the skill, which I think will be interesting, just because mana is already something that you guys can be tricky to kind of min-max and balance around. And then some of the notable nerfs are saying Skeletal Arsonist spirit costs now match the other 2 skeleton mages. So this will just reduce, if you're a summoner, how many Skeletal Arsonists you can have. So it is going to be a nerf in your DPS there. A nerf to damage over time component on a very high level of Tornado and Vine Arrow. They were never intended to be dealing damage themselves, but more so act a way for other skills to propagate damage using the skills. Then Magnetic Salvo can now only use the lightning arrows as opposed to those created by your party members. So only your Magnetic Salvo will only work with your lightning arrows and not your teammates. So it seems like a fine balance change. And then they leave us with, as we wind down for the holiday season, we wanted to thank you all for our most successful launch so far. We could not have done it without all your support. A lot of our team will begin to take some much needed rest over the next few weeks, and we look forward to getting back in the new year refreshed and ready for an exciting year of development in 2025. Happy holiday, Exiles. Happy holidays, GGG. And the patch dropped last night. I've put a link to the full patch notes in the description down below. The patch is feeling pretty good. I wish we got the checkpoints in the maps, though, so we could fast travel there. But unfortunately, that's not the case, but hopefully it's something we get down the road. Let me know your thoughts on the patch. Do you enjoy the changes? Do you think these changes feel good? Let me know in the comments, and leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. So this is me signing out, and we'll catch you next stream. Have a good one, everyone.